right, Dennis, are you ready?
Yes.
All right, take it away.
Good afternoon. I'm Dennis Galucki, and welcome to the 395th Imagine Buffalo program and another great virtual Imagine lecture hosted by our downtown Buffalo and Erie County Public Library. Thank you so much for joining us today. This program is created by ImagineLifelongLearning.com and the Center for the Study of Art and Architecture, History, and Nature, or as I like to call it, C-SAAHN. We're going to start with our speaker shortly, but first, a little housekeeping. Everyone watching will be muted during our speaker's presentation, which will last about 10 to 15 minutes. We'll have time for questions at the end. If you do have a question, please type it into the chat box and we'll get to as many as we can. This program is being recorded. You'll be able to watch it again later on the library's Facebook and the library's YouTube channel pages. Make sure you tell your friends and networks about this program. Let them watch it as well. As a reminder, we'll be here on Zoom every Tuesday at 12:30 p.m. with a great lineup of local speakers and at the same Zoom link. Now, today is the second Tuesday of the month, so we focus on architecture and design with the theme of Imagine Greater Buffalo as a premier cultural and nature center. Our featured speaker is David Granville. Mr. Granville holds a Master of Science degree from Buffalo State College and is the administrator of tenant relations for the Buffalo Municipal Housing Authority. He also serves on several boards, including the Buffalo Arts Commission, West Side Neighborhood Housing Services, West Side Community Services, and the Buffalo Heritage Carousel with the Arts Commission. He administered the funding for the restoration of nearly all the city's collection of outdoor public art 20 years ago in 2001. Today, he will be discussing David, Nikola, and Friends, the new Tesla statue. So now let's welcome David Granville. David?
Thank you, Dennis. Happy to be here today. And before I start the PowerPoint, did everybody see last Thursday's Gusto with a great promotion for today's talk and featuring Nikola himself? And the Facebook page is bringing even more people on. I just want to commend the organizers here. I'm going to share my screen. And here we go. Share. This is the outline of the talk. David, Nikola, and Friends, the new Tesla statue. Do a few words of introduction, talk about David, Tesla, Friends, thank yous, and Q&Rs, questions and replies. And I'd like to dedicate the talk today to Nan Clarkson and George Arthur, both who I met in 1994 when I began my public career, and both passed last year. I had them in mind during the presentation, and Nan was a member of the commission from 1980 until she became an honorary commissioner, and even until she passed a month ago or so. And great public servant of the arts. George Arthur, president of the council, Common Council from 84 to 96. his exemplary civic service will be long remembered. Here's our, besides these friends, here is George Arthur on the Freedom Wall, the Albright Knox Art Gallery public art program installed. Here's that great article with John Hickey's photograph. Let's go right into the Statue of David by Michelangelo. So this bronze plaque was put on a couple of years ago. The original granite pedestal had almost the same information, except that Michelangelo's name was spelled Michael space Angelo. And that's a little bit of Victorian charm. If you go to the Louvre and see his works in Paris, Michelangelo is known by Michel Ange. It's a hyphenated name. And Andrew Langdon, the president of the History Museum, was there in 1900, and he saw this bronze replica. This is the new plaque content with the dates of Michelangelo's birth and death. He saw this bronze replica, it won a medal, and he purchased it as a gift to the city. It wasn't until 1906 that he paid for the granite pedestal that it stands on, and a location was decided, and the piece was erected. You're looking at a piece of sculpture that's been conserved. If bronze oxidizes, it turns green. And so this patina was selected by members of the commission. I think I see a few members of the commission on a Zoom call. But let's just take a look at this sculpture for a minute. So it took Michelangelo about 3 years, from 1501 to 1504, to carve the marble. So he's 26 years old. This is his first major sculpture, and does this work in Florence, and they place it right outside the city plaza doors. And David is facing Rome, the young shepherd boy who faces Goliath. David's glance looking south toward the eternal city, Rome, who would be the Goliath of the time. And the Republic of Florence being like the shepherd boy David. If you notice along between his two hands, at his shoulder and at his thigh, he's holding a sling. And that's the sling that he will place the stones in, twirl around his head, let loose, and hit the giant Goliath with before he beheads him. The root behind his right leg, it's on your left, is a reference to the root of Jesse. So David, king, eventual king, whose father was Jesse, begins a whole patriarchal line of succession. And the artists emerging from Florence are sort of hoping for the same kind of emergence. And Michelangelo himself, Michelangelo Buonarroti, is making a statement here about the kind of beauty that will emerge from Florence. And as you know, he goes on to paint the Sistine Chapel ceiling, creates the Pietà and other numerous works. That bronze plaque was placed there by the Federation of Italian American Societies of Western New York, the same group that recently took custody of the Columbus statue in Columbus Park. Oh, our first friend here looking across the Scajaquada. It's interesting we're talking about a variety of works today because this is the oldest sculpture, outdoor sculpture in the city. This is Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, and this was put up in the 1890s by the German Singing Society. So on this granite pedestal, you have some of his choral works, the Magic Flute, his Requiem. And just a picture of the sunset David sees every night. Looking west on Lincoln Parkway. Before the Scajaquada was put in, the location where David stands was a roundabout connecting Lincoln Parkway on the north side of Scajaquada and the south side. Let's move on to Tesla. Here's the plaque. And don't worry if you can't read it, because here it is more clearly. So Nikola Tesla, 1856 to 1943. And on either side of his name here, on the plaque, you see the lightning bolts. And the Gusto mentioned, why is this figure holding a lightning bolt? What? Tune in on Tuesday at 12:30 to find out why he's holding a lightning bolt. And here is his quote. It was the journey of God's own lightning to the benefit of all mankind. To the benefit of all mankind. This is a quote that the sponsors of this work found from the Buffalo Inquirer in 1896 on the occasion of Buffalo, New York becoming the first city in the world with alternating current due to the genius of Tesla. They also give credit to the sculptor, Mark de Graffenried, and the credit to the donors donated by the Listingi family and Francis S. Listingi, Dr. Listingi, Professor Listingi in 2020 to the City of Buffalo Art Collection. And we've seen it, some of the pieces, during the day. I went the other night and there's ECC, the former post office in the background. And interesting shot with holiday light reflecting on the lightning bolt and even causing a little color to be imbued on the bronze statue. Here he is again. Wonderful work. The committee that began this work took about the same amount of time to produce as Michelangelo did his David. So from 2017 to 2020, in that span of time, this came to be. Of course, everything downtown has a kind of a red, white, and blue Bill's color to it, as you see. Joan Bozer, thank you, Dennis, for sharing my membership with the board of the Buffalo Heritage Carousel, but our former legislator, Joan Bozer, and really the inspiration behind the solar powered carousel that's going to be opening this year at Canalside, wants to say, one of the reasons for the solar powered carousel at Canalside is to celebrate our region's history of leadership with innovations and inventions in renewable energy technology, especially Tesla's invention of alternating current, enabling the long distance transmission of hydropower electricity from Niagara Falls to Buffalo. Thank you, Joan. There's a storyboard at the base of the sculpture and by the way, this park has been named. It's the first park in the world named after Nikola Tesla. So when you come down to visit, see how that intersection, the northeast intersection of North Division and Main Street meet. It's a lovely, lovely space. But wait a minute, what is that at the bottom of this storyboard? I was going to ask folks in the beginning to practice raising their hands or giving a thumbs up. Anyone recognize what that reflection might be at the bottom of this storyboard? Raise your hand or use your thumbs up button. It's the two statues of liberty. Outdoor public art, and their lights turn. So while you're in the neighborhood, check out not only what's on the ground, but above you. Here's Peach Taylor's, another friend here, David, Nikola, and Friends. Peach Taylor's bison. Peach Taylor also did the giraffes at the Buffalo Zoo. She did the giraffes. And then ECC in the background again. General Casimir Pulowski. In 1980, this piece came to Buffalo. And Harold Cohen, first dean of the School Architecture at UB, and planner for our theater district, was also involved with the placing of this military statue. There's a plane going by there above in the sky. Anyone know what this is? Piece of outdoor sculpture? Does anyone recognize this? Raise your hand or do a thumbs up, but it's purposefully obscure. It is purposely obscure. I'll give you another hint. I'm looking for thumbs up. Here it is again, another shot. That may give you a closer hint. Thank you, Elizabeth. It's the sleeping Jesus outside St. Paul Cathedral. Homeless Jesus, I'm sorry. We were showing some summer shots earlier, but we wanted to get a few shots in. Because Buffalonians love all four seasons. Thank you, Dennis, Leah Mosher, Joan Bozer, Emerson Barr, Chris Brown, Marty McGee. I wanted to mention Paul Swisher's name as a member of the committee with Francis and Martin that came before the commission. Also recognize our fellow members of the commission today, Jerry Mead, and I think I saw Catherine Gillespie, our current chair. And looking forward to when we get together at the Ring of Knowledge again. How's that for 20 minutes on time? Happy to take your questions and do my best at replying.
Leah, do we have any questions from our audience?
Susan asks if you said where the Mozart statue is located.
Right, you can get to it right off of Lincoln Parkway and Nottingham. So just walk, it's right across the Scajaquada, or if you're on the David side, of the Scajaquada, take the bike path, elevated bike path, pedestrian path across the Scajaquada there. Everybody's looking forward to traffic calming, measures that will be coming, and seeing that 198 there brought to a more user-friendly, pedestrian, shall I say, status.
David, could I just add to that? Every first Sunday of the month for the last 5 years, from March through November, I kind of lead a reflective walk, a Franciscan-based reflective walk. And we walk right by that Mozart statue, along with David, cross over the expressway, the crossover, and see the 1901 wonderful statue that's been created to honor the Pan Am. So keep that in mind, folks. If you're interested, Sunday mornings, we go for walks around and look at the various sculptures in Delaware Park. Other questions, Leah?
Yep, we have some more questions. A couple of years ago, there was a proposal to move the flock of birds sculpture from Bidwell Parkway to Soldier Circle. Is that still under consideration?
Thanks for the question. I believe that the proposal to Griffiths himself, Larry Griffiths, who created the Birds Excited into Flight in Bidwell Parkway, had hoped for a more, or shall I say, less hidden view of that work. I think the commission would be happy to consider, the Soldier Circle. They're meant to be not just cannons there, but an actual tribute to peace that was to be sort of a monumental installation. We would work with the Olmsted Conservancy on that if it emerged again.
David, and just a follow up to that as well, it just dawns on me the time sequence. Olmsted comes into Buffalo 1868, the Civil Wars just ended 3 years before, and he saw that circle, that soldier circle, as some way hoping we would unify through parks in a way that we were torn asunder in the Civil War, and
Yes.
Offset that. So your point is well taken. It's got a lot of reflection.
And of course, all the parkways in the area. So Ellicott's emerald necklace Olmsted's emerald necklace around the city. So in this particular neighborhood is all a reference to the time you're talking about. Lincoln Parkway, General Daniel Davidson Bidwell Parkway, Chapin Parkway. These are all references to that era. And we have the General Daniel Davidson Bidwell equestrian piece in Colonial Circle. So thank you, Dennis.
Other questions, Leah?
Anne asks, what is the extent of repair needed to the Niagara Square McKinley Monument after that awful accident?
Yes, thank you. The commission has invested a lot of funds, and our great partner, Mayor Brown, has been a great supporter of the requests the city makes for public funding for the arts and for maintenance of outdoor sculpture. And so, especially after funds have been directed to help preserve it, now estimates have to be taken to see how to get the oil off the marble. That's a marble piece. It's a marble obelisk surrounded by 3 animals: the lions at the base, the ram's heads at the top where the water begins to pool, and tortoises that are holding the shells that the ram's heads are pouring the water out into the levels of the pools. So that is marble is a soft stone, and so special care needs to be taken for the repair, conservation, and preservation. Don Ciuta, longtime member of the commission, is chair of our conservation committee. So those estimates will be forthcoming, and we'll get to work on that. Thank you.
Alice asks, when was the Sleeping Jesus sculpture made and who is the sculptor?
That was part of the PowerPoint. Why don't we just go right back to the, why don't we just go right back and give that artist credit?
Right.
2015, Feast of St. Francis of Assisi, sculptor Timothy Schmaltz, and gift of St. Paul's Episcopal Cathedral. Again, this talk's being recorded, so great question, but also everyone feel free to share the link or look at it again and tell me how I can improve.
We had a, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, other questions I was going to ask you.
Oh, there was a question for you, Dennis. Where do people meet for the walks?
Well, thank you. And I noticed on that plaque that was dedicated on the Feast of St. Francis in 2015, October 4th. We gather at 10:45 in that space between the lake and the casino for all 3 different walks. The first one is around the lake, the first Sunday of the month in March. And then the second Sunday we gather there, but then go up and over and do the walk that goes by David and the Mozart statue in the back of the History Museum. And then the third one crosses over Elmwood and goes down all the way to Grant along the Scajaquada, and then comes back through Buffalo State campus. But they all start at the same spot, and they all last roughly 45 minutes to an hour. And they all meet at between the lake and the casino.
That is all.
That's it. David, my hope with this is think of the massive public art program that the Albright Knox is wonderfully engaged with, and these are fascinating. But it struck me that we have all these statues, often from another era, that really tell us a story. Sometimes we're reminded of them. Suddenly, then we might see the people that the statues are about differently and have discussions. How, just your own views, I have mine certainly, that we should educate ourselves with the changing times. But for instance, we took one down in Christopher Columbus named the park in that area around Columbus. What do you think is the best way to honor our history, the statues that were there, and yet appreciate changing times that look at things perhaps differently?
Well, this forum, Dennis, you're bringing folks together for lifelong learning opportunities is a great way to, Dennis first asked me a couple months ago, talk about the Michelangelo's David, okay? And then last month said, what about Tesla? And then last week he says, besides David and Nikola, we may hear of a few other pieces. And so that's the wealth of our city. This is the heritage of our city available. It's not drive-by art. It's art that is there to ennoble, to enlighten, to educate. And the commission is doing its best to hold those values up and preserve it for ages to come.
Well, David, that's a perfect answer. Thank you. And I assure you, we'll have you back and continue this series looking at other public art. It's there for us to see if we have eyes to see. And that's all we're trying to do, is at least make us want to look a little closer at our own surroundings here in Buffalo and beyond. All right, we're going to thank everyone for joining us today, and perhaps hope you'll be back next week, same time, same Zoom link, when we hear from Doug Kohler. He's the Erie County historian. Now, that's a volunteer task. And David, I know just about everything you're involved with is a volunteer organizations and people trying to do the right thing to help our city. Now, Doug Kohler will be discussing Erie County's 200th anniversary, which we're going to be celebrating this year in 2021. We were carved out of Niagara County in 1821. I'm Dennis Galucki. Be well and have a good afternoon.